Ladies and gentlemen, let's read GameInternet.com video. After a long time of silence, developers are slowly starting to speak about the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One's differences. Harry Kruger, who is the lead programmer of Resogun, has actually started to speak himself about this. Now remember, they are making exclusives for Sony, so that's just something to keep in mind. Regardless, many developers now are starting to weigh in on the differences between the GDDR5 memory as well as the extra GPU grunt. And he was asked basically, it comes down to what does he think the differences are going to be between the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 regards to not only exclusives, so, system exclusive titles, but also cross-platform games as well. Anyway, he said, and I quote, "Definitely, in this generation, the PS4 seems to be the console with the fewest quirks. No embedded DRAM, just raw power. Sony's signature low-level API may leave some developers with blooded knuckles, but it also gives access to a lot more potential. This time, PCs and consoles have a lot more in common than ever before, making multi-platform easier, but this time people will ramp things up for the PS4. He also added a little bit for his own title. Basically, the entire world of Resogun is built out of individual voxels. Using our custom toolchain, we export the levels as large 3D textures, which are then loaded to our engines and polygonized, on the fly to build the centerpiece of each level. The environments are all fully destructible, though we do mark certain cubes as indestructible to maintain some gameplay readability, so when an explosion happens nearby, the voxels of that part are detached and chipped away. These detached voxels that you see in-game are not just particle effects or point sprites, they're actual individual cubes with their own geometry, collisions, and physics, and each has its own lighting and casts its own shadow. All of these cubes are fully dynamic and reactive. So, for example, if the player boosts through the cubes, you will notice them being pushed away. Our engine supports up to 500,000 of these at any one time, though normal gameplay we rarely exceed 200,000. So it was a relatively short interview, as you can tell. However, how much stock can you put in this? Obviously, the developer themselves are creating titles exclusively for the PlayStation 4. And so I'll grant you, I don't give them 100% credibility. In other words, they are not, say, without any biased. Regardless, it is something that most developers now are starting to echo. It is becoming a pretty loud voice. I personally can't think of any real developers who are singing praise for their memory configuration or GPU configuration of the Xbox One. Of course, developers are occasionally praising the cloud-based functionality and the power of the Xbox One. For example, Titanfall, the developers of that have said quite consistently that, well, you know what, it does make a lot of difference, of course. Forza developers are saying that it's really good for, say, AI. But it does appear that most developers, on the face of it, just when they're just jumping into the development, they find that the PlayStation 4 is far easier to, utilize. And that's the key, really. The fact that the PS4 is going to be easy to use, it's going to be easy to access all the functions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, of course, it's going to be a better console, which is something that most people seem to forget. It really does depend heavily on what the developers themselves actually really put into it. It depends heavily on, multiple other factors, such as what console has the better games, which at the end of the day is probably about the most important part of all of this. But as it stands right now, most developers are going on record and saying that the PlayStation 4 is a little bit better in terms of accessibility thanks to the GDDR5 memory, as well as the extra compute power of those extra cores. Anyway, this has been a relatively short video, I'm sure you'll agree, but regardless, hopefully you've enjoyed it. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.